What up, folks? This is Paul Barnes at the Nonstop Show.
This is Holdupbabyradio. And your host is...
What up, folks? This is Paul Barnes at the Nonstop Show. Make sure to tune in.
Drop this. We know it's Monday, but my boy Paul Barnes gonna get you through the week. You know, we just gonna start the Monday off right, the week off right. Hey, David D, drop that thing, nigga. Make sure you tune in Mondays, 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 5 p.m. My boy Paul Barnes gonna get you right. And this is Holdupbabyradio.
And here we are. This is the first episode of the Nonstop Show presented by Holdupbabyradio.com. I thought about a couple of ways of how to open this thing up, and I was like, have you ever craved or fantasized like a burger, and when you went and got it and it was just better than what you were thinking in your mind? Well, that's kind of like how I feel right now, but like 10 times more. I mean, this has been something that I've wanted to start up, especially around Oklahoma City, because I've seen a lot of people, man, and they got inspiring stories across the board, from fitness to music, just everywhere. And so, it's a blessing, and I'm blessed with a good friend of mine, my first time guest, Darrell D. Fit, 2006. What is it, 2016? That's
2016,
your Instagram? Yeah. What is that about, man?
2016, when I really felt like, when I got on Instagram that I was trying to do something. When I was on there, I was actually not just posting just to be posting. I had a vision on where I wanted to go or what I wanted to achieve so far. And I mean, right now I'm just in the works. As things get built up as far as followers and things like that, then other stuff is in the works right now to help expand that. Right. So
now I see you've been taking like modeling shoots. You got a photographer that you hired or whatever here recently?
Man, it's just, I don't know. It's just like when I started training with Gina, I knew that I wanted to do something different for myself. Right. It's nothing that I have not done before. It's just something I haven't done in a while.
Well, it's this age, man. Really, it's just like social media has become such a big part of our lives, and, marketing, especially people in the fitness industry. If you're a personal trainer or whatever, they don't want to be trained by some overweight some bitch, like, and to show like your clients, like, hey, follow me, and I'm getting after it, and this is kind of like what I'm what it takes.
Exactly. It's just one of those things, like, if you're having your clients do it, then your goal as a trainer should be also to do it yourself.
There's nothing I can't stand more than seeing like a fat trainer, man.
Yeah, but it takes all kind. So this is how the world is built up. It takes all kind. But I really feel like if someone is overweight, at some time in their life, they will have that epiphany. That epiphany where it's like a light switch, and that light for them may be dim right now. Their passion may not be to lose weight or to really get in shape, but when that thing clicks on, I'm telling you, I've seen it so many times over the 28 years of just being around people in the fitness industry, whereas it just, as soon as that clicks on, these people are on a grind.
Well, and that's kind of like, that is such a art in and of itself, being a trainer, simply because, like, you don't know who you're dealing with first starting out, and it's like, how hard do you push this person? Mm-hmm. Because you and I are our levels of going hard or is up there, right. and a lot of people that is bodybuilding or whatever, you have to go to these these beyond points of like, you know, the pain and all that stuff. And somebody starting out, like, you know, you put them through something like that and they're like, oh God, no. Hey, Darrell, I'm sick today, or, you know, my ankle hurts, or, you know, whatever. And so it's it's a craft, man. And, you know, I got a lot of respect for people that can manage it very well through different, you know, you got women, you got, you know, older people. There's a lot of different aspects, but I mean, like, if you can manage them and know how to, it really teaches you how to be a people person too, because you really have to understand your clients to know, like, okay, how this motivates this person and how this motivates that person. And it can be stressful at sometimes, I can imagine.
It can, but I don't think that the stress is where you're going to actually change that person. You know, I think what changes someone is knowing that someone cares.
Right.
And so, you know, just like I had a situation this morning where, you know, I felt like I needed to contact this particular person and just, you know, are you all in or are you all out?
Right.
You know, and I knew that they may not have been all the way out, but for me, I need to have understanding to where they're at mentally, because I don't see the point in starting something when you know that physically and health-wise, it should be a number one priority.
Right.
And and when you're not utilizing the time that you have to get better, you know, you're wasting time.
Right. And I think also, like, you have to want it for yourself. You can't want it for any ulterior motive, meaning like you can't want it because I want the girls. You can't want it because I you know, for something else. You know, you have to legitimately want it for yourself, because I'm sure you've seen it, I've seen it, where, you know, I'll take somebody under my wing or a buddy of mine, and he's like, you know, the first couple of months he's getting after it. You know, he's in there, he's like, you know, motivated, and then once he gets that girl, man, like, he's gone.
Yeah.
Because you know what I'm saying? And and then what's messed up is, like, then he crawls back like 6 months later, deteriorated, his body shrunk down, he's not who he was, and the girl left him. It's like, dude, that's because you left yourself, right?
Exactly.
And you stopped being that person that she liked, you know? And that's kind of, I've seen that a lot, man. I've seen that a lot.
Well, and my thing is I don't understand the type of thinking, like, after you get divorced, now you're on this mission to better yourself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But that should have been the mission the entire time.
Right.
You know, you become more of an asset to your partner when you feeling your absolute best and when you're looking your best, and that's what is going to...
I think it just becomes about comfortability sometimes, man. You ever seen that? You seen that movie?
Should be a word, because it is.
Right.
They get comfortable, and their responsibility isn't where it needs to be at.
Well, it's self-preservation. You know, it's like you know, just because you have the things that you worked for, it doesn't mean that you can just, like, throw away, start slacking off. And that's, you know, like, if you ever seen that movie, what's that movie? It got Ryan Gosling, and, like, he takes that guy under his wing, and, like, he's, like, wearing Reeboks, he's wearing, like, you know, his suits don't fit him or anything, and, like, his wife leaves him, but he pretty much reinvents the guy. You know, starts taking him to the gym, starts taking him clothes shopping, and so, you know, then his ex-wife is looking at him like, oh my God, you know, what's gotten into you? But that should be you, man. You should always want the highest for yourself, not for anybody else's approval, or not to get the girl, or not just to get the job. You see so many times that people get a job and what do? They press their shirts, they come in with the best attitude, and for the first couple of months, they're killing it, right? But then they get comfortable, right? And then they just start, okay, I'm going to start showing up a little late. I'm going to start coming in, you know, I'm going to start making these excuses. Oh, Jimmy's not...
Comfortable's easy.
Right. Well, and I think that's the problem with society in the sense that, you know, that's what's always promoted to us, man. The easiest way, the new iPhone, it has everything you need. It's the simplest, you know, whatever. It's about being more comfortable. But really, the struggle is where you grow.
Correct.
If you look at anything in life, you can have anything. You can literally have anything. If I took probably the 4 or 5 years that I've been bodybuilding, and I focus that on like some sort of starting my own business or starting my own with that same intensity, I can have that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and that's what kills me about like people that just, you know, we all have them in our lives that are just constantly in a rut, and they're constantly complaining, and they're constantly saying, oh, I don't have this because of this or my past or, you know, whatever, man. You know, it's on you, you know, and that's what kills me about hearing that. It's not that I don't feel some type of sorry for you. I feel sorry for you because you don't know your own potential.
True, but at the same time, I've been one of those people.
I have too.
You know, I've felt sorry for my fucking self so many times, and I've whined and bitched and moaned, and, you know, I'm not going to sit on here and act like I'm fucking perfect because I'm not. But what I will say is that those struggles did make me stronger.
Right.
Those struggles eventually made me stronger. I may not have been stronger the first day. I may not have been stronger the second day, but those struggles made me tighten up.
Right.
You know, and I feel like, you know, most of my life I've been so soft with people, with individuals, just because I am nice, and I give the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, being soft doesn't really get you anywhere. Being soft gets you ran over.
Well, and being too hard is you know, that's a problem too. You have to find a middle ground. It's like you want to find a place where, you know, you're loving and but you're also like, hey man, look, you're not going to treat me like this. You know what I mean? Like so many times, like, you know, especially this day, it's very passive, you know, and for me, dude, like, look, I treat everybody with respect. Mm-hmm. I try to be friends with everybody. But I'm not searching for anybody's approval. And if there's some reason you have a problem with me, and hopefully if you're an adult, you'll mm-hmm. come and you'll say that to me, and maybe we can hash it out. And I'm a reasonable guy. If I did something wrong, I'll say, you know, hey man, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry if I offended you. I fucked up. But like, if it's something like that, you're just going around talking shit, you know, like, then it's like, hey man, look, I don't give a shit. I don't have the time for you. Yeah. You know, and there's people like that, man. There's people that, you know, from your success or what you have, that, well, what's that word we use all the time? They're just haters, man. You know, and you can't let them define you. You know, so for me, it's just being very balanced. Look, man, I'm a loving person, but I also respect myself, and
mm-hmm.
I respect myself enough to not allow you to treat me like this.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if I bring that to your attention, you can see that, mm-hmm. and we can move forward. But if you can't, then hey, man, I'll just ease you out my life.
Yeah, I think that we all at some point in our life is in some type of stage of self-development.
Of course.
You know, and if not in our entire life, we're in some type of stage of self-development. We're all trying to improve in some way. And, you know, bottom line, some people we come across may not be that person we need in our life at that time. So you can't look at every situation. I mean, this is my 2 cents. You can't look at every situation as a bad situation, but you can look at every situation as definitely a learning situation.
That's very important.
And why that person may have been there in your life at that time, whether they were helping you more so than none, or you helping them grow as a person more so than none. And I think a lot of people don't take time to realize that even out of the bad, there's good.
Right.
You know, and that is so important. Well, even out of the bad, there is some good.
Right, because there's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
You know, either through maybe that person did you wrong and you were unaware of it, or that you found something in yourself and you were like, man, I don't want to do that again. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to put myself in that situation. Mm-hmm. And going back to what you said about being a vulnerable person, man, I definitely, I can talk a little harshly now simply because I built myself into this character that I'm proud of. You know, I'm not being egotistical or trying to put people down. All I'm saying is, like, I was that guy. I was that guy that made excuses for everything. I had the finger pointed at everybody but myself. Mm-hmm. And partly it was because I just grew up in such a shitty background, you know, and such a shitty childhood that I just had no sort of self-confidence or self-worth. And I found myself on this hamster wheel of just committing the same mistakes over and over again. And it was like, almost like using the analogy of a phoenix. It's just that I would build myself up and I would be doing great, and then I'd fucking throw it all away. And it wasn't because I was a masochist or that, like, I think it was more because I was just scared of my own success. And I was always searching for somebody else's approval because I didn't have self-worth or self-confidence. Mm-hmm. You know, and so, but I think that in order to build that, at least for me, you know, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was $190. I didn't really have shit going on for me in my life. And I wanted to make a change, man. Like, like I said, I seen myself just repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And I had to, like, how can I fix this? How can I change this? And what's wrong with me? And for the first time in my life, I looked at myself and I took accountability, you know? And it's kind of like, I just finished that book, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Mm-hmm. And he talks in there about the accountability mirror. And the reason why I resonate so well with that guy is because he was this broken dude, and he just started being brutally honest with himself and saying, hey man, you know what? You're a bullshitter. You're a bullshitter. And you know, you're going around doing this and doing that. What are you really doing? Mm-hmm. You know, you're not doing anything to better yourself. You're looking for these people's approval. You're a weak person. But see, the greatest thing about that is is that you've identified the problem. You know, you can see the problem when you're completely honest. That's what I always say. If you want to make a change, go in the mirror and be completely honest with your side.
That's not easy to do for anybody.
It's not. It's not easy. Because, you know, and you see that with drug addicts, man. My mom died from heroin. And the reason I think it was is because, like, she just could never... Once you start doing drugs, it's like, hey, we're partying. We're having a good time. And then that drug starts to take over you. And then you start doing atrocious things for those drugs. And then it's like, I need these drugs to forget about all these things. Mm-hmm. And then you have no self-worth, no self-value, and it's just a way to escape yourself. Mm-hmm. And hopefully there's nobody out there that's like that right now. I mean, hopefully there's nobody listening, but I'm telling you right now, you have to face those things. If you want to change, if you want to become somebody better and a better version of yourself, and I believe we all have greatness in us, mm-hmm. and if you want that, you have to be brutally honest and say, hey man, I've lied to this person, I lied about this, mm-hmm. I've done this, and take accountability for it. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be painful, mm-hmm. you know? But like when you start holding yourself accountable and saying, okay, well, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. And you start working towards that. These things that you've been doing, it's going to start to fade away. And as you continue to be honest and hold yourself accountable, that stuff goes out the window, man.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe everything that you said, but holding ourselves accountable is not always easy.
Oh, no, I didn't say it was easy. It's painful and it's hard, dude.
It is hard. And it's, I feel like that even for the things that I fail most at, holding myself accountable for those things and getting better from those things isn't always easy, but it's a self-talk that I have to have with myself on a daily basis, because I could sit and get down about it. Right. I could sit and just let myself not work out, skip a few meals, something of that nature. But it's just one of those things that tomorrow you just have to every single day that we wake up, we have an opportunity to be a little bit better than we were the day before. Right. And that is the biggest blessing every single one of us have, because how many regrets would each and every one of us have if we did not see tomorrow coming?
Man, and you know what? It's funny that you just bring that up, because I just listened to a video with Les Brown. You know who Les Brown is, right? Motivational speaker. Great dude. Love that guy, man. Mm-hmm. Big part of the changes that I made in my life. But in one of these things he's talking about, he's like, imagine, if you will, that you're on your deathbed. Now, all of us, our typical way to what we'd want to see if we were to die is to have our family and loved ones there to support us as we go on to the other side, right? But he said, imagine, if you will, that instead of your family members, it's the hopes, it's the dreams, it's the capabilities, it's the things that you could have become, and they're all standing at your bedside, and they're like, we came to you, and only you could have given us life. Mm-hmm. And now we must die with you. Mm-hmm. Like that, dude, in and of itself is just like, oh, it got under my skin. I mean, it that, and that's really what it is, man. It's like, what do you want? What will inspire you? I think the greatest thing for me is the weight room, man. It's the greatest thing that I've ever discovered, and the reason being is because there's no lying there. I can't sit here and say, Darrell, I'm an animal, and I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna kill these weights. And we get in there and we start going through some stuff, and every set is a challenge. Yeah. And as you keep going through them, it's like, okay, it's getting harder. It's getting harder, and you see people break. But then you also see people do some inspiring shit, man, where they go to a dark place, or they go wherever they need to go in their mind and push themselves beyond these perceived limitations. And I've done it. Remember when I could barely walk out of the gym, and when I was working with Patrick and all that? Yeah. And you know what happened with that is that the week before that, I was working out with Sherry and Patrick. And Patrick, I just met him, and he was like, after I finished it, I walk over there and I'm saying bye to Sherry, and he's like, hey man, you could have went a lot harder than that. That was, you did all right, but you could have went a lot harder than that. And it kind of haunted me, man. It stuck with me. And so that next week, bro, I got my headphones
just
in,
brought it,
bro, and I'm listening to David Goggins as I'm driving to the gym, and I get there, man, and he's training with me, and he's like, okay, we're gonna do this. And lunges and all this stuff, and he's like, go grab this weight. Well, every time he went to tell me to grab a weight, I would grab 10 pounds, 20 pounds more, because I wanted him to go home that night and to be like, what the fuck that I just witnessed? I wanted to own space in his mind, and I think that's a big part of if you can turn negatives into positive, that's where you can really start to fucking get after it in life, where you can take somebody's negativity and you say, okay, you're going to put this label on me. You're going to say this. You're going to put me at this low level like this. Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll go beyond whatever the hell you think that you're capable of. And that's the greatest thing, man, like when you can flip those negatives into positive.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You know, anything that you do positive is going to come from trial and error or something negative that you've gone through.
Right.
And that negativity is basically power.
Right.
And so that's what fuels you.
Right. Well, you have two options. You know, you can use these terrible things, and we've all had terrible things going in our life. You know, you can either use them as a crutch and say, well, I never did this because of this. Or you can take that, man, and you can use that as motivation and say, you know, who coming from a broken home, coming from being on drugs, coming from all these things, would even think about doing this? Would even think about, like, would even have the confidence or the idea to do this? And, like, you can turn that into fuel, man. And that's something that I do all the time. Like, you see me in a gym all the time. If I got my headphones in and I'm just like, I got this like animalistic look on my face, I'm not like just a meathead or something. What I am is I'm going into my past. I'm going into these things into my mind, and I'm facing these things, and I'm facing these things that were horribly done to me, and I'm using them as fuel. You know, it's like it's a great way for me to just be an animal, you know. And I think we all forget that you know, we were hunter gatherers for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and like that, you know, now we're all domesticated, and some people are just sitting under fluorescent lights all day on a computer, and they're just like, they got this build up thing, and we've all seen it online, like where there's a guy sitting at a desk, and then finally he just snaps and like throws his computer and beats the shit out because he doesn't have that physical exertion, man, that we're all, you know, like we all need it in some way. But if you're not providing it, dude, you definitely, like, now some people can skate by. I don't know how they do it, but like for me, dude, I have to have it. If I'm not working out and I'm not pushing myself mentally to those points, I'll get depressed. And I've learned that. I mean, I did college football, high school football. I worked in the oil field, which is some demanding labor in and of itself. But when I got out of that, like, and I just had like this dark cloud over my head, it was like, you know, well, you know what? Maybe I should get back in the gym. And when I got back in the gym, man, I was like, okay. And I, like, it just felt right. You know, it felt like, okay, this is where I need to be. I need to be doing something like this all the time. At least, you know, a couple hours out of the day.
Yeah, I don't think that was a stormy cloud that was over your head. I think that basically just listening to you from what you were going through at that time, you probably really wasn't happy with your situation, and that's what you carried every day.
Right.
And when you took a step forward and stepped out of that, that was that cloud being lifted up off of you, bro. Right.
Well, and either way, you know what? Like I have weightlifting to thank for that. You know, and it's, like I said, it's just become something that is so embedded in who I am, that, you know, like I said, if I miss like 2 days, I'm getting very itchy, sir. You know, I'm getting very uncomfortable. And, you know, heaven forbid I miss 3 days, then I'm like, I'm all in my head, my own head. And I'm like, you know, but whatever that is, that's what it is for me. You know, that could be, but I feel like that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so whatever that is for you, if you're in this miserable spot, I say try things, man. Try things that you want to do. I mean, I think that everybody needs some sort of physical activity in their life because it's just, I mean, it's healthy, dude. It's cleansing. It's like there's so many times I've been in like a mental fog and I went to the gym and I felt like just completely great afterwards.
Yeah. Just for myself, I wasn't the best kid when I was younger. I went through some things, just family issues, etc. But I always had dumbbells in my room.
Right.
Okay. And that was my fix. I would just, hide away in my little cave, which is my bedroom, and I would just do exercises that I didn't even know the freaking name to. I was just going off of how I felt.
Right.
And that's what was my relief. And then as I started to grow up and understand about weightlifting itself, then I started to understand the mechanics of where I need to be feeling this at and where I need to be feeling that at. But once I got that first vision of a bodybuilder, it was when I knew that was where I wanted to be at. That's what I wanted to look like. That's what I was willing to put the work in to become.
At what age were you, did this happen? Like what?
I mean, I was probably about 13.
Yeah.
13.
You just picked up a muscle magazine?
Yeah, it was an occurrence that was it seemed like every single day.
Uh-huh.
That I would always go to the grocery store, and I didn't have money to buy it.
Right.
I would always be at the grocery store, and I would be always reading it and always looking at the bodybuilders themselves.
Right.
And just being amazed with their physical look.
Right.
But I knew that that's where I wanted to become.
Right.
I knew that that's what I wanted to become. I didn't understand the type of work ethic it took at that time, but I understood visually that looked amazing because it related to me back then in the shape of what most toys look like. They all look like superheroes.
Right.
But now this is true physical human beings looking the same way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now this is real life.
Right.
It's not me playing with toys in my room at that time. Now I'm actually looking at men walking around looking like this. So that's whenever I started with those dumbbells, and I just started going to town.
Right.
And then my uncle told me he was going to give me a DP weight set, which I had no idea what a DP weight set at that time. But if you're listening, I'm sure a lot of you do if you're my age.
I have no idea.
But it was, check it out, dude. It was concrete surrounded by plastic.
Like a dumbbell?
Like a plate.
Oh, wow.
Like a plate. It was straight up concrete. And it had a plastic covering and had straight bar to it. And I would probably get my ass whipped on a daily basis just from dropping the weights on the floor, wooden floor that is, every single night. I would stay up late at night, constantly lifting, to the point where my friends would come and knock on the door and ask my mom what I look like. Because I was that obsessed with it that I didn't even want to be outside playing with them because I found another type of love.
Right.
And so.
Well, and you has that always been your kind of characteristics, to be like introverted in a sense? Like, because, and let me just give anybody that's listening just kind of a rough summary of how I met Darrell. Was like, I moved to 4-Star from going to Fitness 19, and I knew that the people that were serious about bodybuilding was over there. So I went over there and got a membership at 63rd and May for a year. And, I'm at this time, like, I just keep to myself, and I'll talk to people here and there. But like, when I talked to a couple of guys about being interested about competing, they're like, that's the guy you need to talk to. And I said, the guy in the sweats? And he's like, they're like, yeah. And so Darrell has always been this covered up, kind of like, you just don't know what he looks like, and the only time, like, you might catch them in some shorts. If you go up on a hot day, maybe it's like 100 plus, you might catch them in a pair of shorts up there. Which at that point I did, and the dude's calves looked like a couple of like concrete boulders. And so there's a deal in the bag in there. You know,
we'll just edit that part.
Okay. But nah, man, and so like just concrete cinder blocks in the back of this dude's calves. But like, you know, for our age where it's so like, hey, look at me, you know, everybody's on Instagram and they're like, they're posting there, and you see it, I've seen it, where somebody gets in there, they've been working out for 2 months, they might have put on a little bit of muscle, and guess what comes? The spaghetti straps, man. Here they come. Bro, and you're like, dude, like, you haven't even, like, you're buying this at Baby Gap. And listen, I was that guy too, okay? I was buying these medium shirts until the point where, like, my sister and my brother-in-law had to say, man, like, look, the sleeves are rolling up over your shoulders, okay? You're doing too much. Right? But after a period of time, man, it wasn't so much that I was looking for, like, oh, look at that guy. It was more that I was proud of myself, you know? And it's just like the same way that if somebody has money and they want to buy, like, expensive clothes and stuff like that, you know, it's the same. I think it's the same mindset. It's like, you know, I've been working my ass off. Yeah. And I've been very disciplined. And so, like, it was part of, like, it wasn't, you know, that I was like, hey, look at this, you know? Yeah. It was more like, I'm proud of myself, and I'm very proud of the work that I put in. But at the same time, you're very concealed. You don't, there's no, is it kind of like a Dorian Yates style, like, where it's just a package that you work on, and then you present it?
No, this has nothing to do with lifting weights at all, actually. It happened to be something that I started doing from a younger age. When girls would be attracted to me, it'd only be because of physically. And so me staying covered up, I actually
forced them to get to know you.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just one of those things where I hated hearing about my body so much from them, you know, that I felt almost like a token, or I felt more like a prize.
Right.
Whereas I didn't feel like a person.
Right.
So me staying covered up was the opportunity that gave them not to really know what I look like physically,
right,
and anybody else around me,
right,
and that's how it started.
Well, damn. I mean, that's that's crazy. It's crazy. You know, now especially where everybody is just like,
I mean, it's easy. It's easy,
right,
to where, I mean, I see people. And I'm not knocking them at all, but I see people wear tank tops year round, right, and that's cool if that's their thing.
Yeah, we're all on our same journey. Yeah, we're not. I don't want to get that too. I don't want to get like where we're just knocking people that want to wear that stuff. Listen, be proud of yourself. You're in there working.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like that's. It's not a place where we're trying to, you know, say that you're being egotistical if you wear these things. It's just simply like an observation.
Yeah. And just for me, I felt my most confident when I was covered up. Right. And so even if I was going through contest prep, me unveiling at the end of the day, looking in the mirror, it was a surprise to myself. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I went all day being unveiled, then I never seen anything change.
Right.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right.
So me staying covered up and only seeing him. It was my job for myself to stay covered up until the end of the week.
Right.
Not during workouts, not during cardio. Of course, I had to when I took a shower,
right.
etc. But I didn't sit in the mirror and actually observe myself. I'm trying to get dressed and get ready to go and train clients. But just staying covered up was my comfort zone, and it still is. At 47, it's still my comfort zone, and I don't understand it.
Right.
Like I said, I don't understand it, but it's just something that is valuable to me because I have a choice of whether or not I want to expose what I truly look like.
Right.
And not everybody is able to see that.
Right. Well, see, that's good insight, man. That's good insight into who old Darrell is. But let me ask you this, man. What about falling off? Have you ever fell off? Because you've been doing this for 20 plus years, right?
Yeah, I fell off. I mean, I went a great time, and I just, it's probably, honestly, I would not recommend this for anybody, okay? Especially when you are in a really positive place in your life and you're doing great things. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody because it's so hard to get back to that person or that place that you were. But I told myself one day that I just want to feel normal. And so me losing 40 or 50 pounds gave me the opportunity to feel normal. Me walking around at 250 or 260 like I normally would wasn't normal.
Right.
I mean, it was
sweatshirt or not.
I mean, even in clothes.
Right.
Even in clothes, it's nothing. I wouldn't say worse, but there's nothing more weird than just being gawked at, just because it's not normal. Mm. You know what I mean?
Right.
And being my height and being that weight was not normal. And for some people, it was something of interest as far as meeting me.
Right.
Or not even talking about girls. I'm just talking about guys. I'm talking about boys who
you get it from all angles.
Yeah,
man.
just who like muscle.
Right.
Who like working out.
Well, because you're very, I mean, and myself included, like, I'll never do this again. I went to Whitewater with a good friend of mine, and this guy is a big old boy, and everybody, like every time we went to get on a slide, and I know it sounds like the most pussiest thing to complain about. It's like, dude, you're complaining about being jacked. You know, why don't you go to Bodybuilders Anonymous and cry on somebody's shoulder? But it's like, dude, like everywhere we went when we were getting on the slide. Oh, did you check those guns in before you came in here? It's like, dude, like, stop. We take a day off. You know? Yeah, man. So I won't ever do it again. Because you see guys that, like, you know, these guys that are there with their wives and their family and stuff, and they'll fucking grab their wife and, like grab their wife and take her to the other direction. You know, it's silly shit. It's silly shit that you notice, but it's, you know, but we're talking about guys, right? I can only imagine, like, the girls that go to our gym that are in phenomenal shape and then go out and then go to the places like that. Like, you know, if you want to talk about physique or whatever, like, and there's people that aren't disciplined, man. And especially if you go out to a place where alcohol is involved, they're just animals. Yeah. You know? And, like, I really feel for you ladies, okay? But I'm really proud of all your all's hard work. But there are some animals out there. So, but I think on this show that's coming up, the Oklahomian, I think that's what I want to do. Is that sort of method of staying covered and seeing the results as, like, weeks go by. you know, and then like unveiling a package, you know.
Well, it's just one of those things that you want to also be a surprise to anybody that you may be going against.
Right.
You know, it is competing. You know, your competitor is your challenger. You know, whether they're on the right side or left side of you, they're all challengers. And always walking around unveiled. I mean,
it's not that people become desensitized to your figure, I don't think, but I think that it just, if you were to, say, do like a 16-week prep, and then like you were to stay covered up, and then to show that, like, you know,
that would surprise so many more people than seeing
walking
you
around like that
on a daily basis.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so as well. Speaking of, what was your first competition like? Like, was it here in the city or was it somewhere?
Yeah, it was the MPC Sooner Classic in Norman, Oklahoma. And I absolutely knew nothing about bodybuilding except looking at the magazine. So nutrition was not one of my reads. I just enjoyed seeing what those guys look like because that's what I admired and that's what I wanted to look like myself. But no, I seen one of the, like, it still makes me laugh to this day because, like, the show is Saturday and here it is Thursday or Friday and I'm at McDonald's, you know, and one of the trainers at that time named Howie Huddleston came up to me and who eventually became a coach of mine, said, "Aren't you doing the show this weekend?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, well, you're eating hamburgers." I said, "Yeah, no, I'm hungry." You know, like I had no idea.
Right.
You know, but coming in contact with him at that point in time at McDonald's at Crossroads Mall when it was open,
right,
you know, was what eventually led me into working with him and learning how to do it the right way.
Right.
So, that was learning how to do the bodybuilding and having structure to be able to get everything done and training hard and still coming back the next day no matter how you felt.
Right.
And still punching in that time clock and, you know, doing the same on your way out to get to one day for a few minutes on stage.
Right.
Was it was very fascinating to me. Just just from watching everything that he was having me do and seeing my body change in the ways that it did at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And actually seeing myself truly get in shape, not being not just eating whatever the hell I wanted and then going to the contest and still doing good, but now eating correctly and truly looking the part.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when you're younger, there's some things you can get away with.
Right.
You know, as you start to get older and your body starts to mature and you really want to get sliced, you got to do some things right.
Right.
And there's no deviation.
Right.
When it comes to the...
See, that's another thing from people listening is like that it is a full-time job. I think out of any other sport, you know, it's just, you got to eat, you got everything's set up, like you got 8 ounces of chicken, but everything's weighed, you know, especially in those critical times. It's like, you know, everything is to a science, you know, and then it's like, you know, there's other things that you got to take into account, your sleep, you know, other things like, you know, and then your depletion of carbs when you start to get to game day, and it's like you don't have any energy. Mm-hmm. And like if you're not just a trainer and you're working a regular 40, bro, it hurts.
That it does. I'm going to back up just a little bit before actually meeting Howie, and this is probably pretty crazy in itself. Just at a point in my life, whenever I had decided that I wanted to go to a different school besides Oklahoma City Public School. Mm-hmm. I decided that I wanted to go to Moore High School because I heard at that point in time it had the best education. Mm-hmm. I had one ride every week to Moore, someone that was going in that direction. And sometimes he would get me twice that week to bring me back. Mm-hmm. But every week, after school, after football practice, after hanging out with my guy friends, I would always go back and stay in this abandoned house because I did not have anywhere to stay at that point in time.
What about your parents? Where were your parents at the time?
My mom lived on the south side, mm-hmm. But she just wasn't up for the drive, you know, and it was just one of those things that, you know, I knew that it was something that I was going to have to endure personally, and I believe wholeheartedly that is one of the things that has gotten me to accomplish some of the things that I have in my life. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just going to school every day, going back to that same abandoned house, that's where I slept at, wore the same clothes every single day. If it snowed, I would go hang out on my friends' porches while it was snowing until they got home. Some of my friends would let me in the window and their parents would tuck me in and take me to school the next day. You know, it was just a different life for me.
That's a lot to I mean, and it was just because you wanted a better education, correct? I mean, that's essentially, but to go through that sort of trial and at such a young age, man, and how can I say? Because most kids would just be like, "I'll just go to school here, man. I'm not gonna live on the streets. Like, what are you talking about?" You know what I mean? But for you to, I guess, see that, you know,
I saw value in the schools in the school system where, you know, and to most people, they probably wouldn't be thinking about this at that age.
Right.
You know, just like you're saying, you know, I'm just going to go to this school. It's right down the street. I'll walk there. But I wanted to go to a good school. I wanted to go to a school where I would actually be able to articulate correctly, learn how to talk, where I can be able to talk with multiple different people and understand whatever race it may be.
Was it kind of segregated up here in the city? Is that what?
It wasn't segregated. I think there was probably more. More of a mix in black and white kids going to the Oklahoma City Public School because, well, at the time when I was at Moore, I think I was maybe one of two.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And at one point in time, I was the only one. So.
Damn. That kind of, you know, that's crazy, man. That's crazy to have that sort of mental projection, you know, to know that, hey, this is probably the best road for me to be successful or to do something positive with my life, as opposed to, like, if I go here, I'm not, because, man, I'll tell you right now, at that time, I had so much shit going on in my life, like at home, that I was just, education took a back seat.
Yeah.
And it was simply the fact that the people at home where I was living, they didn't give a shit. You know?
Yeah, for me, I couldn't put education in the back seat because neither one of my parents graduated. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean?
Right.
And the thing that despised me the most is me being just like my dad.
Oh.
So I had to do something. And it's not that I hated my dad.
Right.
It's just I didn't like some of the things that he did. and one of them was not being around me more. Right. But here nor there, that's done and over. But at that point in time, I knew I had to better myself. So going through those little trial and errors, or it's not even errors, just going through that little bit of trial and tribulation at that time, was difficult. Mentally, but it was one of those things that every single day I prayed, this is not going to be my outcome.
Right.
And so I told you, this was in high school.
Right.
So most people in high school probably, if you're listening, probably never go through what I just mentioned. And
for a better education. That's crazy.
So yeah, it just happened to be the last day of school, and I've told several people those, but it just happened to be the last day of school, and the teacher in class asked all of us to draw what we wanted to be when we graduated, and I drew a bodybuilder. And 5 or 6 months later, I got calls from some of my friends that I was in the 1992 issue of Muscle and Fitness. And that was just something that bodybuilding has been absolutely everything for me. And I know, and it's not that I'm obsessed with it, but it was also the road that led me to a different life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right.
Because I could be homeless fucking still.
Right.
I could have decided not to go to school at all and just hang out and flunk school or whatever it may have been.
But it's just, I don't know, man. For a child to understand that, to have that sort of, like I said, mental projection of that this could be very beneficial for my future. Whereas a lot of us is just like we talked about, everybody's looking for comfortability. Well, they wouldn't even consider that. They wouldn't even consider going to more for, and being dropped off there. And then, you know what I'm saying?
I had nothing to lose, though. I had everything to gain.
Right.
And that was the decision maker for myself. Me being able to know how to talk, me being able to make the grades, me being able to graduate, that was huge.
Right.
Being able to graduate when having two parents who've never graduated was a huge accomplishment. That was my biggest accomplishment in my life from the get-go, was that by itself.
What did your parents say about you going to school and doing that, and were they proud of you, but they just they couldn't help you in a sense of taking you to school and picking you up because they had jobs and stuff that
they had jobs. Right. It's because I made the choice.
Uh-huh.
And that's because I made the choice, then, I need to find the way. And that's just how it was. And it just so happened to be that while going to school at Moore High School, that's where I happened to have met my daughter's mom at. And so, we ended up dating, and now, my daughter's 28 now, but, I played football, ran track. She ended up running track.
Which is crazy when you say shit like that, man, because you look like you're 30 years old, bro. To think that you have, how old is she?
28.
That's my age, bro.
You're my son. You're my son. But yeah, I don't know what 47 feels like.
Right.
Because I can't identify with that age.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, I completely understand.
So as these numbers keep going up yearly, I don't know how to identify with them because internally I don't feel that way.
Right.
And so I don't think about it.
Well, I think you've had a unique life, man. I think that what you've done, and for the listeners, like, can you just go over some of the accomplishments? Because I was scrolling through your Instagram and there was like Muscle Magazine, there's all these different things, man, and you competed your entire life.
Competing was one of those things for me that was my discipline. Mm-hmm. Like most kids get their ass beat, that's their discipline.
Right.
Well, competing was my discipline for myself. So me competing and staying disciplined year round in the beginning was something that I valued, but I didn't have a meaning to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so in the beginning, here I am, I'm just competing. I didn't care if I didn't do cardio on certain days like I was supposed to. I'm spending all this money traveling out of state to different shows, blah, blah, blah. Then I get there and I may not do well. Then I'm upset with myself. And then I had an epiphany, believe it or not. And that epiphany was, this is business. This isn't about competing. This is business. And what I mean by that is every investment I'm making for me to be there is business.
Right.
And if I'm going to make this investment in myself to be here, I need to get something out of it. Something. And I've mentioned this to several people before, but it's, if you're listening, I would always tell myself, if I don't get a trophy, I'm going to get ink. And people would always ask me, what do you mean by ink? Like,
he doesn't mean being tattooed.
No, I didn't mean being tattooed, but I did get drunk and get tattooed one time because I didn't do well. But that's another day. Anyway, what I meant by ink is I was going to do so well, even if I didn't win, I would still get ink in the magazine.
Which is just, that's a crazy thing that you told me, is that you never received a pro card, but you're in these magazines and you look like some of the fucking pros we're seeing today. I was scrolling through and like there's one where it has a complete bio of you and like you're standing in this weight rack, like holding some dumbbells with this grimacing face with your, like everything is just completely shredded and proportionate, and it's like, what the fuck?
Well, things were just different then. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to sit here and make any excuses. Some days I would be right on the money. Some days I wouldn't be. Mm-hmm. Right on the money wasn't to my standard. It was to the judge's standard, which, when it comes to judges, every single one of them are subjective. Mm-hmm. So it may not be your day.
Right.
And I'm sure if I would have just kept going and being consistent, I probably would by now. But the thing is, life comes into play. You have to take a step back and you have to start living and thinking about life. Right. You've spent so many years thinking about bodybuilding only itself, and you just can't live the rest of your life that way, because I think of so many people, so many things, that I was so narrow-minded, so focused, so driven, that nothing mattered. People didn't matter at that particular time. Only thing that mattered was me getting there on stage that day. And as I sit here to whoever is listening, that is not living. Because even the times that I did well, there's nothing worse than celebrating by yourself.
That's... Yeah.
So if that's not a mic drop, if that's not deep enough for you, try it sometime. Try doing really well and have no one to celebrate it with.
Well, that's just like those, those movies that we see where there's this businessman and he's worked his ass off and he's provided his kids and his family with all this stuff, but he was never around, Yeah, I'm giving you these things, but see, your idea of love is through things and not by me and you, not by first-hand account, And so, I mean, for me, like, dude, and I've seen it where people are just so focused and so like nothing else matters, and it's detrimental to your relationships because it's like, dude.
Oh my God, I'm not going to sit here and say every relationship that I've had has been great because they fucking haven't.
Right.
But I'm going to say I have probably lost some nice ladies because of my focus.
Right.
Because of being so content, so driven in this one lane. And yes, I may have accomplished some things, but I still wasn't able to accomplish the thing. And that was actually winning the pro card.
Right.
Do I still feel like I've won something? Yes, I've achieved a lot. That's great. I've been able to inspire and share with people. But at the same time, now as I sit here, that's, is it cool? Yes. But at the same time, would I have changed some things? Yes.
Right. I think that's just very important to, listen, you want to be motivated. You want to have goals, but you also don't want to neglect the people that matter to you the most.
I see so many people just over a freaking state show get a divorce.
Yeah.
Or like, are you kidding? The show's not even paying your bills.
Right.
And one thing I don't understand about competitors is this is a choice.
Right.
And you walk around pissed off, you walk around mad, you walk around angry, you walk around hangry, which you chose to do this.
Right.
And if you are going to choose to do something like this, which you knew ahead of time, is extremely disciplined.
Right.
Okay? But
we've all been told. We've all been told that.
But that's why they came up with the flexible dieting.
Right.
Okay, you got the flexible dieters out there. Congrats. Hope y'all's doing well. Let me know about y'all's success, though, for real.
Right, but there's so many different things. Like I feel like the knowledge ramps up with all this stuff. You got so many different like scientists and nutritionists and dietitians and all these people that like have these like ketogenic, carnivore, like all these different diets, and now we're all like, it's just. For the most part, what I know and what's helped me is like, and here's what I'm going to tell some kid at home that is thinking about getting into bodybuilding. Just get started, son. Okay? Please, just go pick up a weight and just start learning. We got these crazy things in our pocket. They're square. They got these screens on them. Guess what? You can look up anything you want. You can look up, how to do an arm workout. You have no excuses now. There's no excuse for anything. And so but the crazy thing that gets me, man, is I'll run into cats that like I went to school with and stuff, and they're like, oh my God. Like, dude, you're humongous, this and that. And like, I want to train with you. I want to do this. And, at this point, man, I've just become desensitized to it where I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll see you when I see you. And, but they're always asking me about gear first. They're always asking me about, they always want all the answers.
They want the easy way first.
Right. But here's the thing. It's like when I got started, it's like I wanted to change myself. I wanted to change myself mentally. I wanted to change myself physically because I just didn't have the confidence that I knew that really what it boiled down to is like, I started slamming my mind with all these motivational tapes. And by doing that, it propelled my ass out of the bed at 4 a.m. And I was getting work done. I was doing more than what was asked of me. But there was still something missing. And I was like, you know what? I need to start taking care of myself physically. And I want to build my mind as powerful as my body, and vice versa. And so I started going to the gym. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had no idea. You know what I did is I went to a supplement store. I got Serious Mass. I went to Walmart. I got some steaks. I know steaks had protein. I got some greens. And I cooked that stuff up, and I would eat like a big old thing of steak and some asparagus, and then I'd slam down freaking whatever it is, 1,400 calorie shake with peanut butter, bananas, and had no concept of like what I was doing. But I would go to the gym, and like I knew how to train because I played college sports and all that stuff. And so like I had an idea. I knew how to get in shape. So I started off like that, and I showed up every day, and I didn't miss, and I just was committed. And through that period of time, like there was some mass monsters in there. And I was like, I was always very humble and like, hey man, can you give me any tips? Like anything like that. And there's something about like when you see somebody that's working hard and that is committed, you want to help them more than somebody that is like, just comes up to you off the street and like, man, what's your diet? What's this? What's that? I'm still very humble because of my beginning, that I'll still talk to those guys, but I'll put more of an effort on somebody that I see working their ass off every day and that wants to ask me and really wants to learn, as opposed to that guy that just like, comes out me at the club and he's like, hey man, like you're jacked to shit. Like, how can I get some arms like that? And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But, so I just started asking these guys, man, and just by them seeing that I was committed, they started taking me under their wing. They started teaching me about mind-muscle connection, about stretching and contracting of your muscles, about about tearing down a particular muscle group a day. And so I started to apply that stuff, and like that's what I'm saying. It's like, just get started. All that stuff comes into play. All that other stuff comes into play. But if you just get moving first and you're humble, and that's the greatest thing like that I'm very proud of, is like, no matter what I look like, I'm always humble, man. I always keep that humble beginning, because it's like, look, man, I'm nothing special. It was just that I was this broken kid that I wanted to make a change in my life. And I started with the tapes and then and the YouTube videos, and then I started working on myself physically, and I had no idea what I was doing. And so I can identify with that somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, and I'm willing to, take you under my wing and say, hey man, this is what works for me, and I believe it's more mental than it is physically than anything. Like I said, why are you doing this? That's what I always ask people. Why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want to be healthy? Are you doing this because you want to be jacked? Are you doing this, like, what's your why? Because if your why is like, well, I'm just not confident with women, well, then I'll tell you right now, you'll stay in here until you get some girl, and then you'll break off this shit, and then she'll go break your heart. because you'll lose sight of why you're doing it. So you can't have an external why. It has to be internal. It has to be for yourself, who you are, and become a part of you. Mm-hmm. See, like there's nothing that I don't do this for anybody else but myself. I'm very And I'm just like David Goggins talks about. I'm callousing my mind. I'm working and I'm going for these physical exertions, and I'm pushing myself beyond these points because life will spring up on all of our ass, and everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And you want to be mentally prepared. Well, how do you do that? Well, you work on yourself and you're honest with yourself. And I think it's the physical work too, man, because you go through these hard, grueling workouts and you're fucking exhausted and you're just beat down. And so when life hits you with a slap in the face, it's like, I can handle this. I've been through harder stuff in my life.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing when I'm working out. As a child, that's the greatest thing. I don't hate on my past. I'm very thankful for the childhood that I had because it's given me the fuel to push myself beyond my perceived limitations. But I had to harness it as a positive and stop using it as a negative towards myself. Mm-hmm. So,
and that's one of the things I think every one of you that's listening need to understand, that anytime you're trying to do something great with yourself, you have to stay humble. You have to make sure that every single day you wake up and you're driven, even if it's a bad day, even if you fail, you got to wake back up. You got to keep pressing forward. You got to keep believing, and you got to have faith that the outcome is going to be better than your failing point. And I know that mentally, any time that we fail, it's never something easy to get past. But knowing that we have another chance tomorrow is where you're winning at.
Right.
And that's one of the things in one of the books that I think that is awesome to read as well is Win the Day. You have to win the day every single day.
Right.
Even if something bad happens, you got to win the remainder of the day. Sitting at home on the couch, crying, being upset, isn't going to change a single circumstance. What you have to do is get refocused on what you're going to do next. Put all the pieces back together that's in front of you and start pressing forward. And I know at times that it's easier said than done, but it's something that whether it's 2 days, 3 days, a week from that particular day, you have to put those pieces together and you have to get on your grind and don't let anything get in your way until you get to where you're wanting to be at.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's great. And guess what? 20%, 10% is better than that sumbitch just sitting on the couch eating potato chips.
But I like potato chips.
I like potato chips too, man, but I only eat them after I got my shit done. You know what I mean? I don't make them a priority. My priority is health, wellness, and dude, like this has been a great thing for me, man. And I think it's, just like divine intervention. Like I had an idea of this podcast, or this radio show, but it started in my mind as a podcast, and it was like, because I just went through years and years of just listening to podcasts, listening to philosophy, from Alan Watts to Les Brown to Eric Thomas to David Goggins to all these motivational characters. And so, when people ask me who do you look up to, you don't even know who they are, man, because it's like these characters that came from these messed up situations and just found willpower and grit within their selves. And that's what I say is we all have greatness within us, man. It's just about you finding that. And the way to do that is just by, like I said, being completely honest with your faults and analyzing your stuff and not taking things personal. I'm gonna tell you this right now. This is a story that I use as where I finally came into understanding of all this. But like I had a boss of mine that we'd play this game where we'd call like the little guys would be like, okay, well, Brian's the boss. And Brian would be, we'd say, Brian, you're the boss, so what do we do? And he couldn't stand it. But then like I told Andy, I was like, hey, Brian said you better do this over here. And this he's like, he looks at me and he's like, why don't you know your place in the world and go pick up that trash? And he was being dead serious with me. And like at first, initially, like I was pissed. I was pissed. I was like, how's this man going to talk to me like this? And I kept my cool. I had a shitty ass attitude for the rest of the day. I went home and I had the weekend off. And during that time, it fucking haunted me. And I was like, how could this guy say this to me? He's supposed to be my friend. I've treated him good. I tried to work out with him. I tried to like do this stuff for him. I've cared about him, so why would he speak to me like this? And then I came to the realization that, you know what? He's exactly right. He's exactly right. Because I was putting myself at that standard. I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to learn like what I needed to learn to move up to another level. I was happy with just picking up the trash. I was happy with like, don't ask me to take on any responsibility. I didn't want the responsibility. But hearing that fucked me up because it's not who I thought I wanted to be, but that my actions were showing that, and like, I thank that guy every time I get to see him. I'm like, hey man, look, and I do, man, I do all the time. I'm like, and I tell him and I tell other people and I use that as a big fucking motivator, man, because it's like, hey, you know what? And I went to him that week and I was like, hey man, listen, I was really pissed off about what you said, but I needed to hear that. And thank you. I'm going to start pushing myself to learn this and to be better. I don't want to be the fucking trash guy. And I know I've been behaving like that, but it's not who I want to be. And so just by doing that, man, like sometimes, and here's another story. I don't mean to take up the whole airtime, but like my grandpa used to tell me this story and it kind of came full circle when I had this experience. But he's like, there was this bird that forgot to fly south for the winter. And like he's hanging out and all his buddies leave and stuff. And like he waits for a couple of weeks and he's like, man, it's starting to get cold. I better fly. And so he starts flying and all of a sudden he gets ran into with a blizzard and his wings freeze and he falls to the ground. And he falls in deep in the snow and he's in there shivering and a cow comes over and shits on him. And then like it warms him up, he pops his head up and he starts chirping and then a wolf comes by and eats him. And there's a couple of morals to these stories, but one is it's like not everybody that's trying to shit on you is out to hurt you. And not everybody that comes running when you call for help is trying to help you. And the same way as like when you're covered in shit, just keep your mouth shut.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, man. I mean, but listen, like I said, I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to be on here and to have this, dude. And like, so what's the next step for Darrell now? What are you working towards now? I know you're still training and stuff, but I also know that you're doing some sort of acting as well.
Well, I've gotten into, I had a few gigs of, where I've been in a few movies, and I'm passionate about it. I like it a lot.
Right.
And, but at the same time, the biggest thing that I have going for me right now is a new website that I have coming out. And so I'm just trying to get all of that squared away and get ready to introduce that to Instagram And but besides that, life is good. You know, we go through something every single day, and I just don't let it hold me back. And that's one of the things that you were talking about earlier, is just knowing your worth. That's probably been my biggest downfall for myself, is knowing my worth about in certain situations. And to many of you listening, I just want you to know that you don't have everything figured out on your own.
That's very true.
You have to go to somebody else. And I'm not ashamed to say that, yes, I have gone to counseling. I've gone to listen to someone with an amazing mindset and has some incredible experience that has helped me be able to change in many different ways.
Like a mentor?
No, just
a
like
counselor?
Yeah, and actually going through that and actually listening to him, not just going and paying money, but going. He was there to actually teach me something and to help me learn something. Even at 47, I'm going to tell you right now, at any age, you are still learning.
You should be. And when you think that you got it all figured out, you're an idiot. You're an idiot, because then nobody can tell you anything, man.
Exactly. But yeah, so actually going to counseling and just hearing what he had to say, understanding what he had to say, and practicing what he had told me was the three biggest things that helped me change a lot of things in my life. As of lately, that was really bringing me down and holding me down. One of those things that was holding me down was even my own self, believe it or not.
I think that's what a lot of us face with, man.
Yeah, and, I'm not going to bullshit around and, try to pretend to you guys that, everything is fucking peaches and cream, because it's not. But, there's always an opportunity to do better and be better and make changes within ourselves. And
yeah, and see, we'll even sit here and say, hey, we love the gym, but there's some times when I'm sitting on the couch and I'm looking at that gym bag and I'm like, God, I don't want to fucking go to this thing. But I do it, that's the thing. It's just like, even if you don't get a good workout in, like I said earlier, it's like, you're doing better than that sumbitch sitting on the couch, So just do what you can. And slowly over a period of time, like, you start to build, regardless if that's mentally, physically. I think tapes.
You build spiritually by listening to people that are wiser than yourself.
I think that's, yeah.
And that's basically where I was trying to get at is, yeah, it's great to go to the gym every single day and grind and hustle and sweat and sling weights around, but there's also so many fucked up people when you walk outside that gym mentally, and you have to get better. And I was one of those people, and for me to be transparent on here and open with you guys, because that's what this show is about, is, and that's what I told Paul I was going to do. But, so you don't know everything yourself. And sometimes, let me tell you something. You only learn a lot about yourself in two situations. Either when you're in a bad predicament and you have to pay a lot to get out of hell, or you're in a okay predicament and you seek help to better who you are. And that's the best money you will ever spend in your life.
Yeah. I think that's very true. That's very true, because listen, we've all seen those people that talk a game, and then when they shit hit the fan for them, it's like, hey man, can you help? Like, I need help, dude. I'm in the shit. I am in it. And listen, I'm not above it. I'm not above it either. And that's one of the main focuses that I wanted to express on this show is like, look, man, none of us have it figured out. We're all just trying to do the best we can with the best experiences that we've had, and what works and what doesn't work. And for me, it was just, I just had to focus on myself, and in order to get myself in straight, like sometimes it was like believing in other people's success stories, but diligently working towards bettering myself. Because look, you can sit there and say, I want to pick up this weight over here, or I want to have this business over here. And that whole positive thinking thing with no action is just bullshit. You're just daydreaming. So that's a big thing in and of itself. It's like it takes action, and it's going to take some suffering, and it's going to take some things that are going to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you'll be better from it.
Yeah, and if you're sitting and listening to this, and either you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to put on more muscle, or you're trying to get ready for, your first show or your next show or whatever it may be, I'm telling you right now that everything requires some type of discipline, which you know that. But everything that you do, you have to make sure that you put your absolute everything into it. Because I'm telling you right now, if you put half into something, you're going to get fucking less than half back.
Well, and that goes back to that old saying. It's like everything you can do or all you can do is all you can do. And all you can do is enough if it's all you can do. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of what we think that we're capable of is horseshit. A lot of if you really were to take inventory of I'm really putting out, I'm really doing this. Well, what's your diet look like? Well, what's your, have you been saving money? Have you made any calls about this business? Have you done anything? Have you made a lot of people, man, that shit starts to crumble away, because it's what it is. It's just a poor old me thing, man. But if you just do everything that's physically capable that you have control of, then you can have whatever you want. Just like we talked about earlier. Darrell, if you spent 20 years of being an entrepreneur, you could have this or that, but that's not important. What it is important is that you have a vision and a goal of yourself, and a goal of what you want. And it doesn't matter where you are at in life. You can start little, just by little increments of just doing a little bit better, and say it could just be making your bed in the morning. If you're not, if your life is shitty and there's no success in it, and it doesn't seem like there's any, start at home. Mm-hmm. Start taking better care of your home and things around you, because I guarantee if you're not successful and you're not doing shit with yourself, your house probably is a reflection of that.
Well, many things is going to be a reflection of that. And anything that you want to do in life, you have to envision it before it can even become an action first. I remember whenever I had a dream, and in that dream, I was hosting a fitness fashion show. And I woke up and I told my girl at that time, I was like, hey, I'm going to put on a fashion show. And she goes, a what? A fashion show. A fitness fashion show. And she was like, okay. And then immediately I started Googling, and then immediately I started I started thinking about all the people I knew. But the main thing that intrigued me the most, because I love kids, just want to put that out there, but the main thing that intrigued me the most is, could I really do and host a fitness fashion show and give proceeds away to Oklahoma childhood obesity? And my girl watched me every single day before the sun came up, and after the sun went down. I was always on the grind, making connections, meeting people, seeing who wanted to be a part of it, looking for the building, finding a stage, putting out posters about models, needing models, et cetera, and it all came to life. And I'm telling you right now, if you're in a position right now that you're trying to lose weight, you have to envision it first. Okay? And that's, one thing that Pastor Craig from Life Church used to speak about is kazone. And kazone is basically vision. And you have to envision everything that you want to happen in your life before you ever can start action towards it. Before you can ever take a step towards it, you have to make sure that you dream about it first. You got to dream about it, because if you don't dream about it and feel it, you have to feel it. It has to be in your blood before it actually becomes reality. If you don't, it will only remain as talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big part of. Look at everything around us, man. It started in somebody's mind. It started with somebody just having an idea of something, and they were no special, no different than you and I, other than like they just had an idea, and so. With that, man, with knowing that, it's just about focused effort and discipline. And so I don't even know where I was going with that. But
focused effort and discipline.
That's really all you need. That's really all you need at the end of the day.
Those three things: focused effort and discipline.
Right.
That combination is a lethal weapon with someone that absolutely has no genetics.
Yeah.
They will get in the gym and they will bust their ass in the gym every single day. They may not win, but they'll outwork anybody.
Right. Which is sad to say. Let's go ahead.
It's sad to say. It's a reality check.
Right. Because listen, and we're gonna make this very clear, is like, if you don't have the right genetics for bodybuilding, sometimes like you can work hard, you can do everything to the exact to the T, and you just don't have the genetics. You have to. What are the genetics, Darrell? Like, it's long muscle bellies and what?
It's short muscle belly. It's long muscle belly. It's the ability to actually grow. It's the ability to transform your physique into either something bigger, something more defined.
Well, and if you're talking about classic, which is great, man. They just opened that up like 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm in love with it. But it's just like symmetry. You want to be aesthetically pleasing, as far as like, you don't want to have too, like, you don't want to be like what's that guy who was known for his legs? He just had massive fucking legs.
Tom Platz.
Tom Platz, boy. Like, you don't want, like, it's about symmetry in those certain areas. But like, Tom Platz was a beast in and of itself. If you've ever watched any of his videos, because he's doing squats until he fucking is dead. But the symmetry, like, if you can create a proper V and everything is very aesthetically pleasing. And some people, man, they just have a hard time developing certain areas in their body, and there's no amount of I hate to put that on the air. I don't want to say there's no amount of work or whatever, but there's just there's certain things that in this particular sport that hold you back, as far as genetically,
Well, I don't want to say it's the sport that's holding you back. I want to describe that as it's the gifts that God has given you.
That's better.
Because He's given everybody a lot of different abilities, and with that being said, some people with their physique can do a lot of amazing things, and some people can't. And that's okay. Some people can run super fast. Some people, like my ass, can't.
Right.
I will drive past them really fast, but
I used to be able to run pretty quick. Now, if I did like a 100-yard dash, man, I'd be winded.
I won't make it 100. Give me 10.
Right. Let's start with 10.
Start with 10 yards at a time.
Right. Well, hey, Darrell, we've done 2 hours, man. I'm so happy to have you, and it's been a pleasure, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.